who purport that kind of idiocy and that kind of logic. Now, let me say this in behalf of Mr. Carey. Let me say this. He is an expert because he's the one who said just a few years ago, he said, in America, you have the right to be stupid. He should know. He is an expert on stupidity. He is an expert at being stupid. And I don't mean to sound harsh. Listen, he needs God like anybody else does. And listen, for him to acquire any kind of common sense, he's going to have God. He's going to have to get saved. Because God needs to deliver him from such idiocy and such logic. Oh, you're being judgmental. No, I'm just telling the facts. Anybody who believes that silliness, anybody who believes air conditioning is more of a threat to us than ISIS, they're off their rocker. I mean, absolutely off their rocker. And look, like I told somebody this just yesterday. Oh, why are you bashing so-and-so? You do better if you didn't bash. I said, look here, since when is telling the truth bashing someone? I'm not telling something I don't know. I'm not passing a rumor that I can't confirm. And besides that, the person that they're referring to, that I said, I'm just exposing the truth for what it is. Because that's my job. I'm to expose the truth. I'm not bashing someone when I tell the truth. And listen, I said, and most of that truth is based on what I hear coming out of his mouth. How am I bashing someone who's putting a knife in their own throat? How is that bashing? But people have a right to know the truth. Some people took issue with me because I posted this voter's guide. It's just a voter's guide that tells you the truth. That tells you how each candidate stands on each issue. Don't we as voters have a right to know that? They don't want the truth. They don't, because this society now goes on feelings. They're driven by feelings. They're driven by fear. They're driven by feelings. They're driven by emotions. And they don't want to be driven by truth if that truth doesn't line up with their emotions. If that truth doesn't line up with how they're feeling. You can't tell me I'm not a woman. I'm a 6-foot bearded burly man. You can't tell me that I'm not a woman. If I feel like I'm a woman, I'm a woman. And I have the right to use the women's restroom. Well, you are, sir, as full of bull as you can possibly get. Feel like, you know that story, like I said, you can feel like an eagle, but you ain't gonna fly. And so, anyway, I gotta get back on track. I'm getting away from where I was headed. So, the neighbors laughed at Noah, but judgment came. And just like David proclaimed in Psalm 29:10, the Lord sat enthroned at the flood. God is sovereign. He's sovereign in all things, mercy and judgment. He is sovereign in it all. And so, so we see here the sum of the wrath of God. You know, 2 Peter chapter 3, and I won't go there, you can mark it down and go there on your own because it's the verses 1 through 12, and I don't want to get too deep in a lot of that because I'm trying to get to the next point so I can go ahead and kind of close up the end on this series. But the Lord is enthroned. Whether it's flood, famine, whether it's sunshine, roses, God is enthroned, and He's sovereign in all things. The next worldwide judgment, according to what Peter says, is going to be by fire. God will be enthroned in that as well. People think that when God allows or sends judgment, that during that time God don't love people. God loves people just as much during that time as any other time. It's not God's desire to send judgment. It's not God's desire to allow judgment to take place. But because of choices we make as